In a month, some people in the archaeological team were sick one after another, and their condition was similar to mine. The leading captain has been dealing with these ancient things for many years, and he knows a lot at a glance. Could it be that you have been tricked here? He began to ask the people in the village if there were any similar people, and as soon as they came and went, they pointed me to my house. The captain's name is Lao Wang, but he's also a straightforward person. After listening to my dad talk about the day, he shouted to see Zhao Wenbin. It turned out that night, just with my dad and a few bottles of good wine, went to Zhao Wenbin's house. This old king doesn't know how many ancient tombs he has visited. I've seen a lot of strange things. Usually, he likes to study some sideways. So I heard that Zhao Wenbin is the head. Naturally, there is also a bit of awe. When they go, Zhao Wenbin was studying the characters on the wall. It turned out that he had relied on his own memory, moved those characters to their own home. After Lao Wang explained his intentions, Zhao Wenbin is not shy about it. Ask Lao Wang directly. There can be archaeology from the past. Know the meaning of these characters. Lao Wang said, these characters have never been seen before. With his decades of archaeological experience, these characters must represent a kind of writing that has been lost. As for whether it is the legendary Wishful Book, he didn't dare to guarantee it, but in the Provincial Museum, there is an expert in ancient Chinese who has studied ancient characters quite a bit, said you can take it back and crack it. Zhao Wenbin said, there is indeed something strange in that temple, but by my present ways, nor can the problem be found. But there seems to be another mysterious power to this eccentricity, is protecting. So, it can't hurt people's lives for the time being. Possible. The answer lies in that coffin, and on this wall on the characters. Lao Wang said, the coffin has been pulled back to the province, still waiting for the organization of experts to open the coffin. I judge from the shape of the coffin. It is at least more than 1,000 years old, and it's so well preserved. Therefore, the province attaches great importance to it. We do not rule out the existence of an underground palace in this temple. It's just that so many people suddenly got sick. It made people panic for a while. I didn't dare to continue working. It can only be suspended. I can't help you. Lao Wang wanted to ask Zhao Wenbin to go over and do a ceremony. Zhao Wenbin shook his head and said, if only it could be done. I did it a long time ago. The eye of heaven opens. Nothing. On the contrary, the two clouds on Xiaoyi's head are strange. I used the Tiangang Fu spell. It doesn't seem to work at all. Let's wait until the switch is on. I don't have a clue right now. I'm also figuring out a way. What's a Wenbin said? That's my nickname. Lao Wang looked at it and couldn't even do anything about it now. I can only get up and say goodbye. Next day, in addition to leaving a few people to protect the scene, all the others returned to the province. What about the people who were recruited? They all remained in the county hospital and lay down. Wait for messages. A week later, Lao Wang ran to my house in the dust. Didn't say a word. Pick up my dad and run to Zhao Wenbin's house. After arriving at the Xia family, Lao Wang can't wait. Hand a letter to Zhao Wenbin. What about this letter? He is a Wenzi expert of the Provincial Museum. He Lao wrote it himself. He Lao said in the letter, this is a rare ancient script. It's more like coming from the land of Shu in Cuba. He could only deduce a very small part of the meaning. He said, it is written on this wall. It should be the whereabouts of a strange book. It will take more time to get to know it. To hack. Lao Wang asked Zhao Wenbin. What did he Lao say? Zhang Wenbin gave Lao Wang a letter. Lao Wang looked at it and said, this matter was left to He Lao to study. Although there are not many clues at the moment, but now the group of archaeological team members are like Shu. There's no way to drag it out like this. Gotta give it a try. In those days, If the archaeological team of an official nature engages in feudal superstition, I'm afraid that even Lao Wang's job will have to be thrown away. So Zhang Wenbin means. In the second half of the night, I will go to the general's temple to try it again. Now that the coffin was carried away, there are also people who have been recruited. That speaks for itself. Probably not just coffins. I can only give it a go. Let him go and procure something. There is glutinous rice, soybean, rooster, as well as some boxes. And let my dad find a few hunters and pig killers in the village. Bring a hoe and a stick. After you are ready. Together with the archaeological team, there were 11 people in the group, concentrated in my house. Period. Zhang Wenbin locked me in the room by myself again. After watching it for a long time, still reluctantly left. In those days, the archaeological team represents an official status. If you take the lead in superstition, I'm afraid that Lao Wang won't be able to eat and walk around. But the people lying in the hospital, you can't just watch them go. So Zhang Wenbin decided to give it a try. Although not sure, even the netherworld. He's going to go on a journey too. Night, plus Zonbin's group of 12 people and a big black dog. The personnel consisted of 3 members of the archaeological team, hunters and pig killers in the village. Plus my dad is a total of 8 people. Zhang Wenbin led everyone to do it in the middle of the night, because these people all happened after the coffin was carried away. So Zhang Wenbin can't wait for the news of the switch. Ready to give it a try. After arriving at the general's temple, Zaven soldiers followed the appearance of the Big Dipper. 7 people were selected to sit down in the temple. Standing guard at the door were 2 hunters. Then the pig killers stood beside him. Zhang Wenbin gave everyone another heavenly master talisman. Tell everyone if they feel that danger is coming. Don't hesitate. Ignite the charm immediately. This celestial master talisman is used to save lives. The average person can only use it once in a lifetime. Used to summon heavenly soldiers. Defend you against an evil invasion. After the position is arranged, Zaven Bing asked the pig killer to be given to the 7 people present. In an empty bowl in front of everyone, pour attack blood, and he handed everyone another stick of incense. What is the solution of this formation? Zhang Wenbin analysis. There is still a trace of Taoist power in this general's temple. It's suppressing the demon. The 2 forces are evenly matched, but at a particular moment, there may be one side that will be stronger than the other. So picked this heroic 15 night, because it is the most powerful subtime. In this temple, he was going to use the Spiritist Array first, summon the demons here, then activate the Beidou formation to trap him. The 2 people standing guard at the door are the door gods. The 2 standing behind him were the guardians. Zhang Wenbin thought to himself, even if you're an old demon in Beijing, such a big formation goes down. We've got to get a few results tonight. After setting up the formation, Zhang Wenbin was in the 4 corners of the general's temple again. A candle was lit for each. What about the middle position? Put on the first meal. Burn 3 sticks of incense. Zaven soldiers hold evil spirits. While shaking, he chanted the Tiangang Fu spell. Begin to circle around this small general temple. Every 3 turns, Zhang Wenbin threw a piece of yellow paper, and so on and so forth. At first, the crowd was a little nervous. After all, this eerie atmosphere, it's a little bit infiltrating. But half an hour passed. There wasn't much movement either. Everyone couldn't help but relax a little. On lap 49, Zhang Wenbin suddenly opened his eyes. A talisman in your hand. Suddenly, it was thrown towards the southeast corner. Then, the candle in that corner went out. Zhang Wenbin shouted, "Stupid!" Then he immediately pulled out the 7-star sword. He chased after that corner. I haven't waited for everyone to come back to their senses. A black cat from that corner. Boom popped out. I just want to go out at the gate. the black dog beside Zhao Wenbin. With a whoosh, he rushed up. The hunter standing at the door was also quick-eyed. Before Zhao Wenbin could speak, two men raised their hands. Pop is 2 shots. These 2 people. Usually he is a master of shooting birds with a gun. 2 gunshots were fired. The black cat actually dodged the bullet. It was again to the northwest corner. Then I went up to the roof along the beams. The cat went up to the roof. A meow was heard. It made the people below shiver. The black dog flew wildly over there. Sitting with grinning teeth, he looked fierce. Zhao Wenbin squinted, staring at it and watching. Thought, if I don't take you today, I am afraid that many more innocent people will be planted here in the future. After a command, 2 miners' lamps shot straight overhead. The whole hall was illuminated in white. The 2 hunters wanted to fight again. Was stopped by Zhao Wenbin. Shake your head, meaning useless. Now that Lord Zhang has come out today, that's saying that you can't get him back. The 7 men who sat on the ground were handed over by the Zaven soldiers. Sprinkle chicken shoes around yourself. Form a circle. Stabilize the formation and do not break. Then squeeze out the big seal. Quickly drew a spell on the ground. Pick it with a 7-star sword. Ignited instantly. Straight to the center of the formation. That's right. This stabbed the air with a sword. Nothing works. But it was just this sword that was stabbed. The cat seemed to be hurt. Let out a terrible scream. He fled to the northwest corner. Then 2 miners' lamps shot at the northwest corner. But he couldn't see anything. That's when a chill came down. Everyone couldn't help but shiver. Then it was as if I had taken sleeping pills. They all felt top-heavy. Hunters and pig killers are fine, but it didn't take 2 minutes for Lao Wang to look. It looked like it was going to fall. Zhao Wenbin secretly screamed badly. Shout out your spell. This sentence was shouted very loudly. It woke everyone present at once. With a bang, 12 spells lit together. At the moment of ignition, it's still a night when the moon is in the sky. Suddenly there was a rumbling thunder. Then came the lightning bolt. As if he was going to split this general's temple for him. Zhao Wenbin is a concubine hunter. Hold back a mouthful of blood in your heart. It's good that it didn't squirt. After all, 12 celestial master talismans were lit together. The power brought by him has made him almost unbearable to resist this corpse. After biting his mouth, Zhao Wenbin sprinkled the soybeans in 1 handful, then pull out a small flag. Discharge, according to the direction of the gossip. Just then, the candle in the northwest corner was extinguished. It's called sprinkling buckets into ice. It is also a spell commonly used in the Maoshan faction. At this moment, everyone else seemed to have settled down. According to their recollections afterwards, after lighting the celestial master talisman, he felt that his body was out of control. Consciousness gradually blurred. Until I woke up the next day. Saying, after Zaven soldiers lined up the formation, a mouthful of blood spat out. After wiping the corners of his mouth, ignite a spell with your sword again. Stab to the northwest corner. Another cat meow was heard. And then a huge black cat walked out of the northwest corner. Teeth bared his teeth and stared at Zhao Wenbin. What about the black dog next to it? The attack is ready. Just waiting for an opportunity. If it weren't for being pressed by Zhao Wenbin, I'm afraid I've rushed forward at this moment. Yeah. Do you know the Great Seal? After speaking, Zhao Wenbin raised the Great Seal of the Heavenly Master's righteous path in his hand. After the cat saw the Great Seal, not only does not retreat, instead, it took a step forward. The teeth splayed even harder. As if he had an enmity with this Great Seal. A bow. He pounced directly on Zaven's soldiers. Not to be outdone. The black dog is not to be outdone. I can't bear it anymore. Kick on the back leg, and they shot out like arrows. A cat and a dog suddenly became a mess. The old cat saw that he was encircled. It It gives full play to its flexible characteristics. After a search, I went up to the pillar. Disappear into the darkness and disappear. Only the black dog was left to circle around the pillar. But there is nothing to be done. Zhao Wenbin didn't dare to slack off. The nose is dark. I'm chirping. The old cat won't stop there. They all demolished his old nest. All he was waiting for was an opportunity. An opportunity for you to let go of your groove. Zhao Wenbin decided to lure the snake out of the hole. Deliberately closed his eyes to a few people on the side. Make it look like you're going to go over and check it out. So I said hello. Kuriko, come here. The big black dog. Reluctantly, he wagged his tail and walked over to him. Sure enough, it sounded. A large black shadow shot out from the beam. Straight to Zhao Wenbin's head. Zhao Wenbin is ready. Bum face. Still left a trace of a cat scratch. Then the black cat turned its head again. There was another bloodstain on Zhao Wenbin's face. Then stand in front of Zhao Wenbin. Looked at him defiantly. The tail was standing tall up. Kuriko is going to rush forward when he does things. Was drunk by Zhao Wenbin. Go to the door and keep watch. The dog really ignored the old cat's provocation, shaking his huge ass and going straight to the door. It's like a black liqueur. The breeze territory occupies the only way out here. Grinning wide, sticking out his blood-red tongue, staring at the black cat in front of him. Zhao Wenbin held the Great Seal. Recite mantras orally. After a while, the soybeans began to jump on the ground. It was the throbbing sound that made the black cat shrink its neck vigilantly. The soybeans jumped and jumped, gradually forming a circle around the black cat. The black cat didn't dare to move around in this circle. Just yelled at Zhao Wenbin. The black dog outside saw that he was surrounded, shaking his head proudly. He also turned his ass around and twisted it. A villain's ambition. But Zhao Wenbin can't take care of him anymore. Take advantage of this. Zhao Wenbin took out the black crumpled paper and spread it out. Use a cinnabar pin to draw a symbol with an intricate pattern. Snap and press the big seal. An arrow. A flash of blue fire. Mouthful. Give me true thunder in my name. Paishang Laojun. Haste as a law. The black cat seems to understand human speech. Listen to this mantra. It was as if I had gone crazy immediately. Just rush out. I don't care about those soybeans anymore. After rushing a few times, the formation of soybeans seems to be a little messed up. When he was about to rush out, Zhao Wenbin smashed the talisman that was about to be burned. There was a bang. A huge bolt of lightning streaked across the sky, directly broke through the general's temple for an unknown number of years. Straight on the black cat. For a moment, sparks flew everywhere. Even Zhao Wenbin himself was knocked to the ground. This thunder is truly earth-shattering. The real thunder that Zhao Wenbin sacrificed for the first time in his life. Let him himself be full of blood. Spit out several mouthfuls of blood in a row. When I was about to pass out, the black cat actually struggled to get up. He walked towards Zavenbing. At this time, Zaven soldiers no longer have much strength to fight again. I'm just waiting to see Master Zhu. At this time, the candles of both feet were also extinguished. Zavenbing predicted, I may not be able to get out of this general's temple today. Just when the black cat was approaching Zhao Wenbin step by step, there is also a portrait of Lao Jun in this temple. Reminded Zhao Wenbin. Zhao Wenbin used his last bit of strength. Struggling to run to the portrait, a mouthful of blood spurted onto Lao Jun's portrait. It's strange to say, after this mouthful of blood spurted out, the incense burned even more vigorously in front of Big Dipper Town. A mighty rectification suddenly filled the entire hall. Kuriko rushed forward in a rage, grabbed the old cat in one bite, and bit frantically and pulled the station. He found all his anger on the cat. All that remained was the poor cat's meow and his roar. Wait until the next day, after the rooster crows. The people who woke up looked at the whole scene. The carcass of a cat that has been torn apart. Zavenbing was unconscious under the portrait. Lao Wang said tentatively. Alive. Rush to the hospital. Wait for Zaven to wake up. It's already 3 days later. Fortunately, there is no danger to life. The doctor said it was a big shock. Hurt the internal organs. It needs to be well recuperated. After all, Zawenbing is also a physical multiplier. I can't afford to take such a toss. He also instructed Lao Wang to go back and burn the cat's corpse. The ashes are buried under the peach tree. Lao Wang went back and did it one by one. A month later, he was discharged from the hospital. There was also news from the Duguan side. The coffin is supposed to be from the end of the Tang dynasty. It is made of golden silk nanmu. And what about the one lying in the coffin? But it is a corpse from the Qing dynasty. Dressed in Taoist robes. The robe is painted with a navy blue lotus flower. Not yet rotten. It is a major archaeological discovery in this province in recent years. Archaeologists believe that corpse may be legendary. A certain figure of the Qinglian sect. Oddly enough, hidden in this coffin. There is also the corpse of a black cat. Zhao Wenbin after receiving the news. I understood it in my heart. Immediately advised Lao Wang. Go dig the underground palace of the general's temple. He said there must be the answers that everyone needs. Lao Wang didn't dare to slack off, since seeing Zhao Wenbin's methods. I can't wait to offer him as a true god. Go back immediately and arrange for everyone. Embark on the exploration of the dungeon. Most of them will build an underground palace. It is used to bury some texts. Tribute. There are also temples where relics are enshrined. This general temple is said to be a temple, but now it is certain that it was built by Taoists. As for the dungeon down here, we have been in the local speculation for a long time. It is said that there are treasures buried in this general's temple. There have been a few holes in the past. Without exception, it was all limestone. Later, he also used explosives. As a result, the explosives were somehow not put away. Blow one of the men's hands back. Since then, no one has ever touched the mind of this general temple. Lao Wang led a group of experienced archaeological team members. If you want to find an ancient tomb or open a dungeon, it's always been a piece of cake. It is the tomb of the Han Dynasty and the Han Dynasty. I'm afraid that the stone seat will not be opened. Experience the danger of the last time. Lao Wang has also learned to be smart. Work only during the day. Resolutely do not participate in the evening. So if you want to find the underground palace, you have to start from the previous ruins. There are many places that are no longer visible. So it took 2 weeks just to explore the original site before it was explored. During this time, Zhao Wenbin also made a superordinate mage for the old cat. 3 days later, it was under that peach tree again. 7 new mahogany trees were replanted, arranged according to the Beidou formation. It is said that it is afraid that it will not be possible in case it is overdone. In the future, they will come out again to harm others. Simply condemn him to death here. Now, this piece of peach wood has become a paradise. It's just that the peach trees there are always just blooming. No result. No one can say why. Another week passed. Lao Wang's dungeon still doesn't seem to have a clue at all. No way. I had to go to Zavenbing again for advice. Zavenbing had not intended to participate in this archaeological activity. One comes. That's the official perspective of someone else. Secondly, there is also a lot of farm work to be done in this house. After all, there is still a population to feed. But he couldn't stand the pleading of the old king. Zhao Wenbin decided to give it a try. Everybody knows that. In the past, we made things in ancient times. There has always been a saying about feng shui. Feng shui says, it is also derived from the I Ching. It naturally has a deep relationship with Taoism. A good piece of feng shui treasure. Naturally, there are people who have seen it. For example, this general temple. It was the beginning of the meeting of the two dragons. I remember when I was a kid, there is a great drought every year. People come to ask for rain. How do you ask for rain? I used to follow other people. I saw it together behind the line begging for rain. The group carried gongs and drums, receiving the tribute and pointing to each other. Go to the legendary dragon pond. Kill a big white-haired rooster. Set aside the incense. Then put a gourd on the ground. Chanting incantations without stopping. It is said, slowly, water will enter the gourd. Until the water is full. Then pick the strongest lad in the village. Carry that gourd all the way back. Can't stop yet. It is said, the gourd was very heavy. Walk home. What about people with poor physical strength? Most of the time there is still a breath left. When you get home, put this water in the ancestral hall and make offerings. It will rain. I saw this rain prayer activity with my own eyes. Listen to the old man. The water in the gourd. It's like a mountain. It's sinking. There are some people. When I got home, I was exhausted. Where they asked for rain. It's on a hill in the General's Temple. So this General Temple feng shui. It's excellent. Where there are dragons. Nature is a treasure of feng shui. Zhao Wenbing looked at it carefully. Lao Wang has marked the original site of the General Temple. I made up for it on the spot. Compliments are shown. This General's Temple. There is indeed an underground palace. But in this flat land. I really can't see why. Zhan soldiers took Lao Wang with him again. Climbed to a hill opposite the General's Temple. Stand at the top of the mountain and look down. It doesn't matter. Almost made Lao Wang's eyes pop out. I saw a small river winding around. It flows from the west. This is where a meeting place is formed. This is the legendary Qinglong water intake. To the east, a mountain range stretches its towering back for thousands of miles. But here the mountain suddenly lowered and plunged straight into the embankment. It was as if the head of a giant dragon suddenly lowered. It's that water intake. Two green dragons draw water from this place. Think of the feng shui of this water intake. What a state it has reached. Look at the ruins of the General's Temple again. It was marked out by Lao Wang with white lime powder. A huge turtle leaps to the ground. The turtle's head was pointing at the small water hole. Don't say that Lao Wang was shocked. Even Zavenbing was shocked by this sight. What a piece of feng shui treasure this is. The tortoise is above the two dragon heads. At the same time, he absorbed the breath of the true dragon, plus the sun and moon essence. Don't say it's a cat going to be a sperm. I'm afraid it's a mouse that stays for a long time. You can be a king, too. It's a perfect place to bury an emperor. All three heads point to the same place. It should be there. Zhao Wenbin pinched his fingers and bowed his head to think. Lao Wang. You don't see the little stone bridge opposite the General's Temple. If I'm right, the underground palace should be at the location of the stone bridge. Let's go down and see. When Zhao Wenbing and Lao Wang went down the mountain again, it's already the sun setting. The two couldn't wait. Rushed to the small blue stone bridge. With the memory just now, Zaven jumped into the river. Look carefully for clues. Lao Wang, you see. This stone is glued. Isn't it glutinous rice tin? Because of antiquity, there is no such modern building material as cement. So at the time of construction, the powerful all-boiled glutinous rice into a pulp acts as a modern cement. That's how strong that thing is. It is completely comparable to modern cement. It was during the land reform. We had some ancient burials dug up there. They are all built with this glutinous rice glue. They all need to rely on explosives to blow up. You can see how hard it is. This glutinous rice is made of tin glue stones. Naturally, it is not difficult for this old king. Archaeology of him, what is strange? I haven't seen it. Once the location has been decided, Zhao Wenbin and Lao Wang return to their residence. That is, my family's old house. Since then, the archaeological team was temporarily stationed in our family's old house. It's also easy for everyone to take care of. Early the next morning, Lao Wang took people to buy a few bags of sour vinegar. It's all in vats. Pull under the small stone bridge. Pour a scoop into the cracks of the stone with a scoop. Slowly, the stones came loose. Less than a morning, the stone of the pine cave was opened by the team members to create a large hole. Sure enough, there is no hole in this. Old netizens beckoned people to bring the ancient fan, sent air inside for an hour. After that, a duck is hung on a rope and sent into the hole. After about 10 minutes pulled out, the duck didn't look out of the ordinary. That's when everyone was beckoned to come in. The big head is naturally Zonbing. After a few bright miners' lamps shot in, the whole picture of this underground palace is revealed. The underground palace is rectangular in shape. A basketball court-sized world was empty. When the miners' lamp swept over the wall, everyone stopped breathing. Murals occupy this small space. How Lao Wang sighed treasurefully. This is simply a national treasure that skillfully captures the heavenly palace. Carefully lift your steps. Step by step. The ghost only knew that it was in this gloomy underground palace. Will there be any traps left? Fortunately, it was a false alarm. The first mural too. It's about an ape in a hole. And then there's a young man with the ape. The third depicts a young man kowtowing to an ape. One after the other. To the penultimate one. It was an old man with a white beard carrying the crane to the west. The last one is a coffin in the main hall. Zhao Wenbin, a Taoist disciple, understood at a glance. This is the legendary monk of the burden. It turns out that it is not a legend. It's true. He couldn't hold back his excitement any longer. Trembling, he walked to the other wall. The other side of the wall depicts a Taoist. The picture of subduing demons and destroying demons. Although it is somewhat exaggerated, but it was enough to make Zhao Wenbin can't help but get excited. It turns out that these things exist. Lao Wang's light hit the front. A wooden box lies quietly on the shrine. The entire wall is painted with Taoist sanqi. All eyes were on the box. Build such a large underground palace. Except for the frescoes, there is such a small box inside. What's in it? I'm afraid it's worth more than anyone thinks. Lao Wang put on his gloves professionally. Everyone gathered around. Exciting times are coming. Just before Lao Wang finished cleaning up, Zhao Wenbin suggested that he should bow down to Sanqing first. Everyone felt that the recent strange things happened one after another. Don't dare to slack off. After the respectful worship, Lao Wang trembled and opened the box. View from the outside. This is a rosewood box. There are no locks. It is carved with gossip. Zhao Wenbin always felt that something was wrong, but I can't say it, so I just close my eyes and think. Lao Wang can't wait. Before Zhao Wenbin could shout out the caution, Lao Wang has already opened the box. A flame ignited from Lao Wang's hand. He subconsciously shook his hand. The box fell to the ground. In an instant, it was burned to the point that a pile of charcoal remained. In fact, this underground palace is built very steadily, and inside the box was a pin and brimstone. Thousands of years have passed, It's still very stable. The trap was triggered by the old king. A fire burned clean. What the hell is in this box? I'm afraid only the people who painted the murals know. In deep self-reproach, Lao Wang looked at Zhanbing with a melancholy face. I didn't dare to speak. After all, this may be a relic of the old Taoist ancestors, a man of the path. How could you not want to see the true face of Lu Shan? Everyone went back and analyzed, but it's clear. It is not far from the 8 or 9 that Zhanbing Bin guessed before. This place was supposed to have been seen by the Danzi monk. After the burden monk absorbs, there is no cremation. Instead, it was buried in the dungeon. Later, the Blue Lotus sect stood here. Open the dungeon and take the box. There's a little trap here. The coffin was also carried out. This fine golden silk nanmu. The corpses inside have not decomposed after thousands of years. This is what the ancient emperor could only lie down. The leader of the incorruptible sect does not stop doing anything. Pulled out the corpse on the burden box. Not sure for what purpose. The body was sealed in the wall. When he died, he lay down in it. It is not yet buried. He slept in this great hall. As for what's in that box, everyone listened to Zhao Wenbin talk about the legend. They all think that it may be the legendary Rui book. As for the whereabouts, I'm afraid I'll have to crack the text on that wall. Follow this explanation. There are 2 forces in this temple, one good and one evil. It should be the burden of the monk and the leader of the incorruptible sect. That night, Zavin broke the evil spirit. There should only be Taoist power left in the temple. Zavin made a quick decision. Put all the people who were recruited, including me. All of them were rearranged to the general's temple. I did a ritual. Ask our ancestors to dissolve the evil spirit in us. It's strange to say, when those of us who were recruited, after kowtowing to the wall where the dead had once been buried, the next day it was fine. The murals were later dug up by the antiquities department. The dungeon was also resealed. The great temple was also locked. Later, the incense has been very good. People often come to burn incense and ask for peace. Zhao Wenbin returned to his hometown with a lot of doubts. The matter of the general's temple has come to an end for the time being. By the time I was almost 10 years old, a relative of our family has passed away. She was my grandfather's cousin. We call Auntie. The eldest aunt suddenly died while taking a nap at home. Didn't even go to the hospital. The son who had come back from the field in the afternoon took a look. The eldest aunt was no longer breathing, crying and shouting. And the whole village went. At that time, cremation was not practiced in the countryside, so all the old people are old. There are 2 top priorities. One is to make a coffin for yourself. It is also called shotsai. The other one, it's to choose a treasure hole for yourself. This big ant is in front of her. 2 things have already been done for myself, so it didn't take long after his death to enter the customs. It's just that the lid isn't closed, for people to swallow. Because it's our elders. After kowtowing to incense, I want to play with my cousin and cousin. The night before, my cousin told me to go to bed early. Say the next night, a Taoist priest came to sing a big opera. What kind of play? The biggest attraction of Taoist priest practices. Naturally, it is to cross the ferry bridge. Saying, funerals in the countryside are actually quite cumbersome, especially in those days. Rich people are all about thickness. What does it mean to be thick? The coffin board should be thick. The beast's clothes should be thick. The quilt of the dead should be thick. It's often said in novels, the poor are buried, a thin-skinned coffin, or a roll of straw mats. This is all a symbol of the family's lack of wealth. This aunt's house is in a local area. It's also a big rich family. Its coffin is naturally more exquisite. The coffin is made of mountain wood. The materials used are also extremely particular. 3 on each side of the bottom cover. The front and back boxes are also 3. 5-bottomed mountain slabs of 20 pieces. The number of seats is 5 each. This is a symbol of the wealthy family. A clear. Rich people are said to have silk with 5 collars and 3 waists. That is, the top is 5 pieces. The lower length is 3 pieces. It's all made of silk. In fact, it is silk cotton. I was attending a funeral the other day. A quilt was also sent. It is marked with a national flat price. $88. Beast clothing. Ordinary people are dressed in Ming Dynasty clothing. Yuanling, Fongjin, Howdy boots. This plan is called a rise and fall without falling. Lifting refers to wearing modern clothing during life. Death will not fall. It means that he is still wearing Ming Dynasty clothes after death, because the last Han Dynasty was the Ming Dynasty. When you die. The rich man wore a silk scarf over his face. Ordinary people use large table paper. That is, a piece of yellow paper burned to the dead is covered. What about the 2 fists of the dead? Hold it slightly. Take 7 pieces of bread. Wear it with a stick. It is also called dog cake. It means that the deceased went to the underworld and met a vicious dog or something. Just throw a flatbread over. Then the deceased had a silver dollar in his mouth, 1 in each hand. After you die, light an oil lamp before bed. Burn candles. Put a bowl of upside-down rice. 2 eggs. The whole family has to make a decision. If the deceased had a daughter at home, that daughter is going to use a big paper. The famous money of 4 tales of alcohol is burned. So he told his relatives and friends. Then it's time to find someone to report the funeral. At that time, I was mourning. It's still a leg job. Need to give someone a new pair of liberation shoes. Let the people of the village dress and go on foot to call relatives. If there is a long way to go, the mourner was weary to death. Dress the deceased before falling in love. It's called a little love. We were mourned by a man from my aunt's village. When I went, I just caught up with Shaolian. What a trick. Invite the women of the village. First go to the river and wipe my aunt with a new towel. 3 times on the front chest and 3 times on the back. Then comb your hair. Also 3 times. The changed animal clothing. To prepare a bucket. Put sesame oil lamps in the bucket. 7 wicks. There is a bamboo sieve on the head. Only on the sieve can the animal clothes be placed. The beast garment is draped over the filial son. That is, on the aunt's son. Then you can change her into a beast coat. Then cut off the collar of the filial son's shirt. Tucked into my aunt's collar. The hands and feet are made of silk cotton. I put it on the sleeve which I made. And then what? I have to wait for the marshal seat. Or the Taoist priest came.